r/AskReddit by Reddit. Europeans who visited America, what was your biggest WTF moment? Subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Did a house exchange in New Jersey from UK, and on the second day a neighbor came to the door with an actual cherry pie to welcome us and ask us to dinner. Was 1. A huge confirmation of stereotype. 2. Really touching and sweet. Pie was also wonderful BTW. 3. A bit weird because we knew our neighbors wouldn't give a flying duck, and we felt bad. Not a WTF moment, but nevertheless a moment I will remember. It was my second trip to California. I was only 18 years old. When I got out of the plane, as usual, I had to go through all those security checks. At the last checkpoint, the officer asked me whether I have anything in my suitcase that I didn't mention on his CBP thing. Then he asked for drugs, and then for alcohol. I honestly answered all questions with no when surprisingly he asked me why not. A bit confused, I told him that I knew I wasn't allowed to take drugs or drink alcohol in his country. He got interested and asked whether it was different where I'm from, Germany. Here the minimum age is 16 for light beverages like beer and wine and 18 for the other stuff like spirits. He was so interested, he kept asking stuff for like 5 minutes, not even minding the 100 people behind me. When he let me pass, he instantly turned towards the guy in the other checkpoint was like, hey, did you know? Damn, I just realized a lot of people's first experience in America are these clowns at TSA. First thing I saw after sitting down to have my first beer in Portland was some guy walking in the middle of the street, half dressed as a ninja with 2 swords on his back. Oh, and before that some homeless guy told me and my friend to go back to your country. Then some slightly hippie looking girl apologized for his behavior. We just laughed at how scripted the situation felt and went to have a beer above. Also, when you play Grand Theft Auto you hear strangers on the street yelling and talking about weird stuff. That just felt exaggerated until I went to the US and realized it actually happens all the time. Ironic that a homeless guy tells you to go home. In 2015 I went to Florida. We walked past a crazy golf place and a guy was holding an alligator in his arms. He also told me he had an 8-foot alligator in the back. I'm from England, so I don't think I'll ever quite get over just how casual he was having a ducking alligator in his arms. That's very much a regional thing. My wife is from Florida and isn't fazed by alligators. I'm from Georgia/Alabama and I won't go near the damn things. I went to pay with card in a restaurant and the waiter just took it and walked off. Sometimes people just give me their card while I'm working. I'm from Canada, and once they hand it to me I panic and have to explain to them that they pay themselves with the machine and that we don't do it for them. We have a lot of Americans coming down from Alaska because I live on a highway that goes from Alaska down to Washington state. I worked in a bar in Scandinavia and we weren't actually allowed to hold the customer's card. Oftentimes they just handed it to me for me to put it into the machine, and I usually did. Would be more of a hassle to hand it back instead of it in the machine. I mean, we were standing facing each other, so it wasn't like I was running around with it, but my coworker taught me how to instead move to hand them the machine before they handed me the card. So I've been living in the States for 3 years now, originally from England. I turned to my coworker one day and asked, can I borrow a rubber? She proceeds to do a double take and said, what? I asked again and told her it was to rub out the mistakes I made with a sketch I was working on. She proceeds to burst out laughing and explains to me what a rubber really means. I should have said eraser. While in Florida, we went through a drive-thru and the lady couldn't understand what I was ordering regardless of how slowly and carefully I spoke, so I decided to go inside instead where the lady behind the counter couldn't understand me either. I'm a northern Brit, but not too broad an accent. My little sister had to put on her Florida accent to order for us. The manager who eventually took the order said she was sorry as the staff were only used to normal English lol. I'm actually in New York City right now, so that was good timing. I'm from the UK. Yesterday I went to Central Park and there were literally 2 guys just driving around on Segways with giant ass snakes around their necks. Occasionally they'd take them off and drape them around the nearest random person. I was actually frozen with horror. Edit. Wow, this blew up more than I expected. Clearly this is more of a regular occurrence. I also saw even more of these snake dudes at the Statue of Liberty today. Maybe they're following me. Repost from a similar question that was asked about 3 weeks back. I'll preface this by saying I love the USA, been there a couple of times, and can't wait to go back. The only things I found properly unexpectedly weird were financial stuff, as I thought it would be much the same worldwide. Signing for card payments. In the UK we've had chip and pin for about 10 years, so it had been close to that, since I've had to sign a receipt. You're handing me a pen. What is this? The Dark Ages. For that matter, swiping the card at one point then having the transaction done sometime later. I don't think this is even possible in the UK. The card payment goes through the machine with the card and card holder present. Main example is hotels, where they swipe the card when you check in then charge it when you check out. Another example would be restaurant type purchases. Correct me if I'm wrong. My memory might be failing me, but it seems like they present the receipt for the food. You supply your card which they take away, swipe and return with a receipt, which you then write on to say how much of a tip you're leaving. Then they charge the card that amount. The usual price tags then add tax at the till. Confusion. I get that. Different places, different taxes, but as a non-American I have no idea what the tax rate is to even guesstimate what I'm about to be charged. Not an issue if I'm paying by card, but I don't recognize the coins well enough to pay promptly and don't want to hold up the line, etc. Prepaying for fuel. In the UK I've been driving to the pump fuel, go into shop and pay. Quickly learned that I had to go into the shop, let them know how much I wanted. I had no idea, you measure it in a different unit, and pay a lot less. Enough to fill about 3/4 tank please. Didn't seem to help. Handing over a card and being asked cash or charge, or something like that. No idea what that means. In the UK you hand the card, and they charge it. Makes no difference to the retailer, whether it's a credit card or a debit card. Now, I accept that some of this may have changed. I was last there in 2015, and that there are going to be perfectly reasonable explanations for these things. Edit. Thought of another one. Often there were card machines on fuel pumps. This'll make it easier, thought I the first couple of times. No, first thing is it asks for a zip code. I didn't have one, so moved on to the prepaying mentioned above. Just the sheer size of everything. Cars are all absolutely gigantic. In Fort Lauderdale, there seemed to be a parade of people driving on a Sunday. Huge duck-off trucks, Mustangs, Corvettes, all of the Bald Eagle Murica cars. The food was gigantic. In Mexican restaurant, we ordered a starter and main course each. They asked, do you want to guac and chips whilst you wait? They give us a literal bucket of guacamole and the equivalent of about 8 family bags of Doritos. TBH, I felt like I was in a film the whole time I was there. Probably a bit late to the party on this, but I went to Portland beginning of this year while on a business trip, and I couldn't believe the amount of homeless people in downtown Portland. I'm not talking about the odd person just sitting in the corner begging. There were a couple of streets with homeless people just strewed on the pavement, some laying down, some sleeping, some just talking to themselves and screaming. This was the first time it really hit me at how big the class divide is in the US, and how this is normalized. I would like to believe if this happened in the UK it would be all over the news. And don't get me wrong, we do have homeless in London, but not at this level. While this is happening a few streets over, you've got the most hipster of markets with people talking about stopping gentrification and change the country, and I'm thinking, look a few streets over mate, their area about 20 people just on the floor homeless and no one gives a crap. Worked at a camp in the Northeast for a week and a half and traveled a bit before and after. Loved Boston, but New York City made me homesick. Nobody bothered being friendly in New York City. Mostly, though, the unhealthiness of the food. At camp we'd have cereal that made my teeth want to escape my mouth. Every hot meal had something deep fried. I was stunned by the Dino Nugget pizza with smiley fries. If we have pizza that's enough, there are no fries to go with it. And chicken nuggets on pizza? In the shape of dinosaurs? In Sweden, kids eat normal nuggets and that's it. And every hot meal was followed by dessert. And we'd probably bring snacks and candy to the cabin between meals, just in case someone got hungry. Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, supper. When would you get hungry? I told one kid that in Sweden we don't have cereal with tiny marshmallows. She looked at me and asked, seriously, is Sweden a poor country? Also, price tags where the taxes are not included. WTF. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.